back. It's been an absolute age until we've got to this point where we can do a video. It's the new season tomorrow. Can't wait for it. Hopefully we kick off with a win to start what hopefully will be a brilliant season. But first I'm just going to talk about the last five first home games of the season. So last season we won 2-1 against Oldham. 2021 season we drew 0-0 with Colchester. Season before that, 1920, we drew 0-0 with Cambridge. However, COVID affected them seasons, and we didn't have good seasons in most of these. Actually, none of them apart from the 16-17 one. But a lot of 0-0s. The relegation season, 2-0 defeat to Barnsley, first home game, but the first game was a 1-0 win away at Shrewsbury. 17-18, we beat Blackpool 2-1 at home and came 11th that season. And then just to throw in the 16-17 1-1, we got to Wembley and lost to an offside goal. We drew 0-0 with Port Vale, so just something to throw in there. Obviously the first game doesn't really matter. It's nice to get off to a win. It's nice to have a good first month, but last season we had a good start to the season and we just absolutely petered out, and Adams got sacked, and then we had a decent end to the season under Hughes, and we've continued that momentum into a transfer window, and hopefully we can have a good start. But teams like Bristol Rovers, Bolton, Blackpool in the last few years haven't had good starts in this league and have kicked on towards the end and ended up with promotion. So it's not how you start, it's how you finish. But yeah, hopefully we can get off with a win. So Doncaster Rovers manager McSheffrey took over mid-season last season. He was the under-18s manager, took over as caretaker, retained his role, and now he's got his first full season in management. Doncaster fans seem to be quite optimistic about him. It's one of those where it either goes really well and you like maybe a Richardson at Wigan, or you become an established manager like Rob Edwards at Forest Green last season, who's now managing in the Championship at Watford, or you end up like a Michael Collins with us. So it could go one way or the other, and so far he's had 28 games managed, 17 defeats, 4 draws, 7 wins and under a point a game in a relegation season, so obviously it's hard to judge considering they looked like they were already down when he took over as caretaker. He's brought in a few signings. George Miller, formerly at City, he's had a really good pre-season. Doncaster have as well, as a whole. They've been unbeaten, and they beat Huddersfield in there as well, and they drew to Rotherham, I think. So, yeah, decent pre-season, but it don't matter because we beat Sunderland and then we went and lost 3-0 to Chesterfield. So, pre-season, take it out of the equation, because you could lose all of your games and still end up with a good season, or you could win all your games and get relegated. It really don't matter. It's all about fitness, and you can't prepare for these matches either. But they have recruited quite well. Obviously, Lee Tomlin. It's an interesting one to watch from an outsider because he's a technically brilliant footballer. He's a championship standard player technically, but he just doesn't seem fit enough. And if they get a player going, then he could be one of the best players in the league. But it's just about getting him going. Obviously, the signing of Luke Molineux, brilliant last season at Hartlepool. George Miller is an interesting one. Didn't really do well at City, but we didn't really play to his strengths. And they've got Adam Clayton as well, who were there last season, but he's played in the Championship and is a bit like a Smallwood for us, that type of player in midfield and that type of calibre. So they have got a pretty good squad. The manager, McSheffrey, played against one of Mark Hughes' sides in 07-08, it was Blackburn, his last season at Blackburn, where they came 7th. They were 2 points off 6th because McSheffrey's Birmingham, who he played for at the time, beat them 4-1 on the last day of the season when they were already relegated. And then Mark Hughes went and moved to Man City, and then he didn't have the best times there, but then he built a good reputation at Stoke and Fulham, but not so much QPR. But yeah, it's an interesting one, Doncaster. We'll see how it plays out this season, but they've had a pretty decent pre-season as well. We haven't, but we'll just have to see who actually comes off top, because they've had a good pre-season, we haven't, and that we could end up doing a lot better than us, and we are tipped to. So, Richie Smallwood is our new captain. We obviously knew it was going to happen, and Mark Hughes said it was an obvious choice. He's balanced in, being a leader on the pitch and being a leader off the pitch. He can shout when he knows it needs to be. He also leads by example, and I think, bringing in a player who's played at that level, he will lead by example, and the younger players who maybe like a Young or a Matty Platt, they'll look up to him, who have played at this level and are growing their careers. They'll look at someone who's 30 and played in the Championship, won promotions into the Championship, and they'll probably look up to him, like a Ryan East in midfield, plays in that same role. He'll look up to him, so he said, he'll lead with that. Mark Hughes also wants to get on with the season, and a lot of the players will. Obviously, with the pre-season they've had a tough one, but there does seem to be urgency to get the season going. He said there's an advantage to get the deals done as well. He feels like we've got that early advantage of getting the players in for pre-season and getting to know them. He feels like that's a big advantage, and he says we're also ahead of where we thought we would be at this time. Which, there will be other clubs who, when you look at Doncaster, I don't think they've done their their signings yet. I think they've got a lot of signings to make if they want to have a real go at the season this season. They've got a few good players in, but I do think they need more. Where with us, you see quality all over the pitch, and the one position where I think we could do with a bit more depth is out wide. I think we possibly could do with a better winger. We'll get on to my predicted team later, but when you look at the players who are out, Gilead and Dice are out, but Gilead wasn't going to play out there anyway, but this is supposed to be Ice's big season, and it leaves us with only 3 wingers for today's game, with Chapman not even up to speed yet. It only really gives us Angol, Young and Osadebe. But Hughes also said that there is a possibility of bringing new players in, whether it's on loan or on a free, but I think it will be more of a loan deal. And he said it's vital that we discovered the home form, we should be intimidating, and he also said the players are not apprehensive, they're excited to play in such a big stadium, because we've seen players crack under pressure before, like Jake Reeves or Josh Wright, who just haven't got it in them to play in such a intimidating ground with such demand for success, and that's why we've failed in these last few years for bringing in players who can't deal with the expectation. He said he would like to see 2 or 3 home and away games before the game, to see how the opposition set up and adapt in matches, and that'll be something that obviously won't have got with Doncaster, because you can't really see that with friendlies. So he said that is one thing he would like, and he said the game will be about who grasps the game and controls it more and takes the chances. He also said Gilead has trained for a week with the team. We've had about 26 players training this week, and Dabo Ice has progressed well. He said he won't underestimate Doncaster. We need to make it uncomfortable for them and intimidating. He also said momentum's carried on through the summer as it did towards the end of the season. You're talking about that a lot to the end. And he said on the referee, who is going to have a tough game, dropping from Scotland, the top end of Scotland, but he's still going to have to adapt to the English game, I reckon. He also said, I'm sure he'll have a good game, and I've quoted him on that, because we never have a good ref at Valley Parade, and I'm sure he won't have a good game, but hopefully he will. And on the referee, he's managed for 12 years for FIFA, 12 years he's managed with FIFA, refereed for FIFA, sorry. And he's refereed in games that are World Cup qualifiers, Euro qualifiers, so he's got a big reputation managing refereeing in all firm games, and I think he's been a referee in the Scottish game for over 20 years, and he's only in his 40s, so he's a well-established referee. Hopefully he has a good game for us, but no matter what, there will always be a decision that goes against you. And also, the refs are clamping down on time wasting apparently, and Mark Hughes said we'll see how long it takes until they just forget about it, because there's been a 6-second rule in the game for years, where the goalkeeper can only have the ball in his hands for 6 seconds, and it seems like they always forget about that one. But onto the head-to-heads. So it's an interesting one, the head-to-heads, because we've beaten more times in our history. I think we've beaten 33 times. But recently we haven't had a good time of it. We've lost 3 in a row against them. 18-19, the most recent time we played against them in that relegation season. We lost 1-0. They came 6-3, went down. And in that same season we lost 2-1 to them. And the only player who scored for us was George Miller. So he is the most recent player to score for us against Doncaster. And I would not be surprised if he scores against us again. Touch wood he don't. But it's the type of thing that always happens against us. Our rejects always tend to do well against us. 17-18, we lost 2-0 to them. So since we've last beat them, we've had 9 managers, including Mark Hughes, which is a very, very bad record. But hopefully it comes to an end today. It was actually us who won 2-0 in 17-18, but we still have had 9 managers since we last beat them then, if you include Stuart McCall at the time and Mark Hughes who we have now, which is pretty poor, to say the least. But the predicted 11, I think we'll play a 4-2-3-1. I'd play a diamond because we look more fluid when we've played a diamond from what I've seen. It's above me right now, it's here right now, the team. Lewis in goal, Halliday right back, Platt, Critchlow forwards, Smallwood east, Osadebe, Walker, Angle on the left and Cook up top. What with Oliver and Chapman not being match fit and not having much of a pre-season, I think that Cook and Angle will probably get picked ahead of them on the flanks. And Odesino, I don't think he's fit enough to play as well, and Rydal. So hopefully them players who are playing take the chance and hopefully it gets us 3 points. But my team would be a diamond with Lewis in goal, Halliday, Platt, Critchlow forwards, Smallwood east, Osadebe as a midfielder but he can float out to the wing to give us a bit more width if we need. Walker, Angle and Cook up top. I think that team's a bit more fluid, and obviously if it ain't working it's easily adaptable. You just say Angle drift wide and Osadebe just go a bit more advanced, and then it does become a top 4-2-3-1, and of course you could do that with a 4-2-3-1. So both teams are easily adaptable, and Mark Hughes seems like a manager who will be doing that. But my score prediction will be 1-0. I think we'll just edge it. I think it'll be quite a tight game. What with no preparations for either team, I think, you know, first games of the season always are quite edgy and no one really tends to batter anyone. So I don't think it'll be an easy game. I think we'll have to battle hard and we'll have to take our chances when they come. I think it'll be a 1-0 win with Angle getting on the score sheet. Let me know your prediction in the comments down below.